What's up, everybody? Today I want to talk a little bit about Fishbite's new bait, the Mini Mauler. I've been using this bait now for about a month. They're just released last week sometime, but I was doing some testing for them, and this bait very quickly became my favorite Fishbites bait. The size and the versatility is the reason why. You can do a lot with this bait. It doesn't it's a 3.5 inch stick bait, so it doesn't, if you're not familiar with stick baits, it doesn't have any built-in action. There's no tail, there's no curly tail, there's no paddle tail. It's just a straight body, but that body moves. All right, so you can do a lot with that. I'm going to show you 3 ways to rig up the Mini Mauler today. So the first way would be rig it up as a swim bait or as a twitch bait. So the way I would like to do that, is with a screw lock, a weighted screw lock hook. So you'll thread it on the screw, just twist it on there, and then you kind of just bunch it up just a little bit there and push that hook through a little bit more. Push that hook through to where it comes out the back, just like that. Alright, so that's going to be weedless. As soon as that barb is barely showing right there, so as soon as a fish grabs on that, it's going to push it down. That barb's going to expose, or that hook's going to expose itself, and there'll be a fish on. You can go ahead and get it past that point, but have that just like that, and you can run that thing weedless through grass, through oysters. This is an 1/8 ounce 3/0. You could probably get away with a 4/0. I think a lighter weight is better because you want it to have a slow descent. You don't want it to just go straight to the bottom. So a 1/16 and 1/8, depending on the water depth, a 1/4. But I wouldn't go a lot heavier than that with this bait. So, but this way you can swim it, twitch it, work it in the upper and mid water columns, and also through structured grasses. And it's flood tide season. This will be killer. Throw it in the grasses. You will absolutely destroy the redfish. But that's way number 1 with a screw lock hook. All right, so I'm gonna just continue to use the same bait here. Take it off the screw lock. Way number 2 is with a shaky head. If you've never used a shaky head, this is a bass technique. So a shaky head sits on the bottom like that. So the tail is up in the air, wiggling. And you pretty much rig it the same way. Screw it on. And these 2 techniques you can do with the other Fishbites baits as well. The third technique is what makes this bait a little bit different than the rest, and I'll show you that here shortly. But same thing, bunch it up a little bit and get that hook through the center, and you want it to be up like that. And again, it's fairly weedless. I may not have gone back quite far enough, but it's close enough for demonstration purposes. That's what you want it. That thing will sit on the bottom then, just like this, and you can just bounce it along the bottom. And again, it's going to be fairly weedless because your hook is going to be in the bait. So your lead may get hung up, so that it's not completely weedless, because you may get your lead hung up in the oysters or the grass. But the hook itself, it should be fairly weedless, but the thing just bounce it along the bottom. This is an excellent way to catch flounder, redfish, pretty much anything that'll eat a bait off the bottom, which is just about every fish. So that's way number 2, shaky head. Now, way number 3 is my favorite way so far to use this. And you can just put these on a regular jig head too, and swim them just like that too. There's nothing wrong with that. But the third way is to Ned rig them. So if you're not familiar with Ned rigging, it's a finesse, small bait, finesse way to fish. So that's your Ned hook. and I like to get one that has the keeper on it, because and with the notch, so the bait will ride here, and I'll show you why in just a second. So what I do is I take this bait, I take my Danco pliers. These are braid pliers, or scissors, I'm sorry, not pliers, but braid scissors that I have on my life jacket at all times. I take the bait and I cut it almost directly in half. To where I have just the tail section left. Alright? So I take that Ned head in the tail section and I run just a little bit through the tail section, just like that. Run it up the collar. Run it up over the keeper, and then twist the Ned head, just like that, to where that bait is now in that cut right there, in the lip. So then you're going to take the bait and again bunch it up a little bit and run it over that hook. And that, my friends, is a netted mauler. And this sits on the bottom and bounces as well, like that. And whenever the fish are hitting small baits, ghost shrimp, or not ghost shrimp, grass shrimp, glass minnows, you know, little bitty baits that's almost impossible to imitate, there's your imitation. That catches fish all day long. Bounce that along the bottom. This is primarily what I threw in San Diego. That right there. Figured out, hey, we can cut that thing down and make a little bitty net and catch all the species we need to catch off this list. So, I mean, just the other day I did this in Salt Run, and I caught 9 different species of fish just throwing this. I didn't catch 2 of the same species, actually. It was just very, very random. Every little thing eats this. Every big thing eats this. But this is a fun way in the wintertime. Another great way to present a bait is to net it. But with this Fishbites mauler, you can Ned. With the other Fishbites baits, whenever you cut them down, they don't act right. This acts the same cut down as it does long. And then I've taken the other half and used it on a drop shot, because it still has the Fishbites technology, and you know, it's just basically a small piece of the bait, and you can put it on the hook, and you can still catch fish on that end of it too. So you can use both sides of it. But I'm not talking about drop shotting in this one. I'm only giving 3. Drop shotting would be 4 ways. So we're talking 3. So Ned rigging is the 3rd way. And like I said, I think this has become my favorite Fishbites bait. I had so much fun throwing it in San Diego. I've had a ton of fun throwing it here locally. I threw it in the bass tank at iCast, and first cast, the biggest bass in the tank took the Mini Mauler. These baits absolutely catch fish. I don't really have any complaints about them, and then you get multiple fish. The only thing, if you net them, this little piece right here is going to tear after 2 or 3 fish. So then you can hook it again somewhere else on it and spin it around and hook it in multiple places around the collar, and then you can even trim off a little bit more and do it again. So you can keep on using this piece of bait for quite a while. Just because it comes off here, just trim it down a little bit and redo it. You can start it if you want it longer. You know, you can have it a little bit longer. You can cut this wherever you want to cut it at to give you the bait profile size you want, which makes this the most versatile bait Fishbites has, because you can make it imitate a tiny little shrimp, or you can still have it imitate a 3.5-inch bait fish. So kudos to Fishbites for coming out with this Mini Mauler. I love it, and I can't wait to catch some more fish on it. Alright y'all, thanks for watching.